everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark, and today I am back with another video on why your listings aren't selling. These have been a tradition on my channel now. I do them almost once a month, if not every other month now. I know a lot of you really enjoy these and a lot of you get really good advice from these videos, and it really helps you fix your listings in your closet. So I hope this video helps you out today. And if you are interested in seeing more of these, I will link the playlist down below. But let's get started and let's go through those listings. And like I said prior, I pulled these from my Poshmark feed, so these are real listings that I've seen from other people. Of course, I am blocking out the names for privacy reasons. I don't want to put anyone on blast. I just want everyone to know that there are ways that they can improve their listings and help them sell faster. Okay, so this first one is a little bit confusing because it looks like it would be like a two-tone striped pullover sweater, but it actually, if you look at the pictures, it's only supposed to be like one pattern, and it's supposed to be stripes throughout. So it kind of, the first image makes it look like it's two-toned because of the way that the shadows on the top half of it. So definitely fix that in the cover photo and make sure that it doesn't look like that, because it's very misleading and confusing to someone that's going to buy the sweater. They're not sure if they're going to get a two-toned, you know, darker half at the top and then a lighter half on the bottom. And like I said in prior videos, I always swear by whiting out the background, or at least neutralizing the background. And I think hanging the items really goes a long way. Using a mannequin really goes a long way, but if at the bare minimum all you have is a hanger, I think that really helps any listing and make it look better. This next one is something I don't really think I've talked about in these prior reasons your listings aren't selling video, but I think this one in particular really is a good example of this. So this person is using a white background on a white item, and it makes the item kind of look really washed out and really hard to see. So I would recommend, I always swear by using a white background, and I still do, but make sure that there's some other interest that is in between the item and the background, so it's really easy to tell what the item looks like and the full details of it. So in my case, I actually use a mannequin. I use a black mannequin, and it makes it really easy to see, you know, the layer and then the background. So my mannequin has like a black cloth on it, so it makes the piece stand out, and it kind of adds some interest or some contrast. And I think that would really go a long way in this piece, just because it kind of looks a little washed out and a little bit hard to see. And so I think that is the biggest thing with this background and this photo, is just making sure that there's kind of a difference in between or a better contrast, and that would really help this item sell a lot quicker. This next one, there's a couple things. So in the title it says that it's a brand new purse, but it does not show that it's new with tag. So in this case, is it new without tag, or is it brand new and you just forgot to write new with tag? Make sure that you specify that, because that could be very confusing to someone that's going to purchase this bag. And so I hardly ever recommend putting like brand new, new with tag, new without box, like all that in the title. I don't think it's necessary, especially because there is that tag that you can put that'll show up right there when they see the listing, that'll say new with tag or whatever. So I don't think it's necessary to do so. But if you're gonna put that it's brand new without tag, and so you can't put that it's new with tag because it doesn't have the tag, then specify that in some way in the description, or maybe put it at the end of the title. Make sure that you're consistent and make sure if it is new with tag that it is clarified that it's new with tag, and it's also in the title and in, you know, the description and the tag. But if it's not new with tag and it's not actually brand new, then don't put that in the title. It's very misleading. And then the second thing I would change about this photo is just the lighting and the way that the item is photographed. The entire handbag is kind of like slouchy in the photo. It's on a hanger and it's kind of hard to see the details of the bag. It's not a very clear photo and it's not a very bright photo. I think this bag could sell a lot better if it was actually like displayed a little bit better. A lot of people have hooks that they use to display bags. You can, you know, simply put it on a doorknob or anything like that. That would really help hang the bag better, and it would show a more realistic approach to it. And so I think if you got the entire bag in the photo, you whited out the background, you made the photo a little bit brighter, and it was more clear, this item would sell a lot quicker. Okay, so this next photo I was actually looking at because I was very, you know, confused why it was like this. But in every single one of the photos in this listing in particular, there's like this blue stripe through it, which is very confusing and very distracting, and I'm not even sure why it's there. So definitely get rid of that blue stripe if it's, you know, part of your camera or what happened in this photo, but definitely remove that and make sure that the picture is clear, because this looks a little bit confusing and distracting and definitely like doesn't make me want to buy this item. And especially because all of the photos are like that, it looks like there was an error when you were taking your photos. And to me, that just shows pure laziness. So I think, you know, getting rid of that blue line in the photo would really help this listing sell a lot quicker. Okay, so this next one is very noisy. This picture is just very noisy. It looks like it was taken in a closet or like a junk room or something like that. There's just a lot going on in the photo. So you have this item that's hung like in a really awkward position, like on a shelf with a bunch of other items. You have like a plastic shiny bag, you have a bunch of items hung next to it. And so it's just very confusing and distracting and just too much. So what I would recommend doing is just definitely clearing out everything else that was in this picture and definitely just making that one item the highlight, and maybe make it more like a up and down against a door or something where like if there's a flat background, because the background is like not really, you know, flat, so the item is hung really weird. But I think doing those things can really help sell this item better, because right now it just kind of looks like it's part of like a junk room or like a really busy closet, and it's very distracting to someone that's purchasing the item. Okay, so this next one was a watch, and the photo looks really old and vintage and like dirty or something. Like it doesn't have like good details or anything, and the watch is kind of like a yellowish color, which it says in the description and title that it's supposed to be a white watch, and it certainly does not look white in the photos. So I, you know, personally, if I was looking at buying a watch, I don't think I would buy this watch because it's not very clear. And so that's like the big problem with this photo, is just that the cover photo looks very, you know, like you took it in a rush and it was dark and the lighting wasn't great, and you can't see the details of the watch. And there's also only one photo of the watch, so you don't even know what the watch really looks like in detail. You don't know the material of the band. You don't know like what the face looks like or what the detail looks like around the edging. You don't know if there's any scratches in it. So you definitely want to have more than one photo. That is, you know, a big thing. I always recommend having way more than one photo. If anything, use up the max photos that you possibly have. Show some detail, take a video. There's so many things you can do. So I would do that with this photo, and I would definitely make sure that if I'm saying the item is white, it looks white in the picture. Otherwise, it's very confusing to someone that's purchasing. So shine a light on it or take it in direct daylight, and this item could sell a lot quicker. Also, what I realized with watches is people really like knowing the length of it, so they know if it's going to fit their wrist or not, because everyone has a different size wrist. And I sell a lot of bracelets and jewelry, and a lot of people always ask, like, is this going to fit my wrist? And so I always give the measurements. So I think that would really help this watch in particular, especially because it is going to vary, you know, depending on the person, and they can tighten it or loosen it, you know, how they need. But giving them a base of what the measurements are on the watch will really help them determine if it will fit them and if they want to purchase it or not. Okay, so this next pair is a Lululemon pair of joggers, and in the description they say they don't know if it's men's or women's, which I think right off the bat can be kind of confusing unless you're saying that it's going to be unisex. This person just doesn't seem like they're too sure if it's men's or women's or not. But I think if you know, put some measurements and description on how they fit, or, you know, what the length is or what the waist is, it would make it really easy to determine if it was men's or women's. You could, you know, take a screenshot from the website of the sizing. That would also really help. But all that aside, I think the cover photo itself kind of shows a close-up of like the waistband and cuts off the bottom of the pants. I think that's really unattractive to someone that's purchasing this item. So I think especially with a really good brand that people swear by selling and say that it sells really well for them, I think getting that entire pair of pants in the photo and making sure that they like look nice and presentable will really help the item. And I think especially when an item is a really good brand and stuff, you want to make sure that it will stand out, because a lot of people try and sell like Lululemon or other brands like that. And if your listing looks like this, it's probably not going to get that attention that other photos that look really nice and styled are going to get. So definitely clarify and make sure that the title and the description are accurate and descriptive, and also make sure that the photo is really accurate and descriptive and shows the entire item in the cover photo. So this next one is another distraction problem. I think that's becoming a theme of this video. This one, it looks like it's a set of jewelry, but it's very unclear what is in the set of jewelry, and there's so much going on in the background. It looks like this was taken in like some kind of shop or like something like that, and there's just so much going on, and so you can't even really see what you're getting. So if I was scrolling through and I saw this jewelry set online, I don't think I'd really want to take a further look at it to purchase it, because I'm very confused what's in the photo itself. And So when I did my research to look at the listing more, it looked like there was 3 pieces of jewelry for sale. And so you could see 3 pieces in that cover photo, but it's very unclear what they look like and the details of them. And I know styling jewelry can be quite difficult, but I think there are definitely better ways to do it than this. And I think if you find a way, get a necklace display or get like a bracelet display or earring display, there's so many different ways that you can hang jewelry to make it look presentable. And this person has a necklace display, but they're kind of just like sticking the other pieces on the necklace display, and then they took a photo of it, but it looks blurry, you can't see the colors of anything. So I think this could definitely be improved in many ways. Definitely get more clarity in that photo and make sure you shine a better light on the photo, and I think these pieces of jewelry will sell a lot quicker. Okay, so I've, taken so many listings from other people's closets for all these videos so far. I figured it was only fair if I took one from mine because yes, I still make mistakes as well, and I find ways that I can improve my closet all the time, and this was a good example of one that I found when I was doing a silent live the other day. So I wanted to pull it into this video and to show that I'm not perfect either. We all make mistakes in our listings, but as long as we can learn and grow from them, that's really all that matters. So this one was an H&M boho shirt. It was a long sleeve shirt, but instead of putting H and M, I put $M, and that hurts the searchability of the item. So the key with this is to make sure that you don't have typos in your titles or your descriptions, because your SEO for an item or your searchability is really important, and if the item is not searchable, it's not going to sell very well. So while I could have really good photos in the listing, it's not going to matter if the searchability isn't there. Okay, something I always recommend not doing is putting clearance or sale or emojis and stuff like that in the title. And this person, the entire front of the title is clearance with some emojis. And I think it just is very distracting and takes away from the listing itself. And I think that could be used as valuable space. And to be fair, no one really knows what the original price was on the listing, so they don't really know, when you say clearance, they don't know what kind of clearance deal they're getting because it's not marked at that original price anymore. So to me, it doesn't really do anything than say the item is the item and without putting clearance or not, because the clearance isn't telling me how much money I'm saving on the item. It's not telling me what the deal was. So I just find that you put the title of the item and describe the item, and that will actually help better because your item will be more searchable. People are not going to be searching clearance with 2 emojis and then the name of the item. So get rid of the clearance, get rid of the emojis, and I think this item would sell quicker. So this next one is a nice, really detailed denim jacket with nice patchwork or lace detail, crochet detail, all these different details. But it's not really described in the title of the listing. So all it says is vintage denim jacket. And to me, that is, not really clear on what it looks like. And you have to remember that people may not be able to see the listing, or they might not be able to, put the 2 and 2 together. So I think it'd be a lot better to be able to describe it in the title and say this is a vintage denim jacket with lace detail or with crochet detail, or this is a blue denim jacket, because denim could be black, white, maroon, it could be a lot of different colors. So you gotta specify what color denim, and then you could say vintage blue denim jacket with lace crochet cream detail on it. And that would be very, descriptive and helpful for someone that was trying to purchase this, because this is a beautiful denim jacket and it's not going to sell very well if it's not, described well. The other thing with vintage, I find that it would be really helpful to know the era, and I know a lot of us don't know that, and a lot of the times I sell vintage items and I don't know that either, but that's just a nice added detail that will help the item sell a lot better, because people might be looking for specific eras of vintage items. And so if you can put that in the title or the description, it could also really help sell the item quicker. Okay, and the last one that we were going to talk about today is another one with putting emojis and host pick and stuff like that in the title. I've talked about this in a prior video, and I don't think it's a good idea to do. I think it doesn't really mean anything. Host picks are not really that important and don't mean anything to buyers. I found that if I put host pick in the title, a buyer is not going to buy it just because it says host pick, because that doesn't mean anything to a buyer because they don't know what that really is. So for me, I recommend not putting host pick, not putting emojis, and not doing any of that in the title, and just focusing on what the title actually is of the item and describing it, and that would actually help the item sell a lot quicker. So these are the reasons that your listings aren't selling for this month's edition. Like I said, I could go on and on about these, you know, different reasons of why your listings aren't selling, and some of these are repeats from prior months, but they've been changed a little bit. And because I'm still seeing these so often, that I figured it was important to talk about in today's video. So I hope this video helped you and made you understand a little bit more of why, you know, your listings aren't selling and what you could do to make them sell quicker. And if you want to see more of these videos, like I said, I have a whole playlist that is dedicated to, you know, this exact kind of thing. So if you want to see those, you can click that playlist down below. And also, if you want to see new features that you should be using on Poshmark that have been released recently in the last couple of months, you can click right here. And if you want to see another reason or another video on reasons why your listings aren't selling, you can click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.